How would you like to make your first million? Today we have Paul Comfort with us, and he is an author of seven books, also an entrepreneur. And today he is going to talk also about his latest book, Find Your X Factor. So, Paul, tell us, I like the cover, it's amazing. Paul, tell us what are the five steps you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make a first big.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
So thank you, and thank you for having me as a guest today, Harry. I really appreciate it. So today I'm here talking about Betty, how to be your best, right? How to achieve your highest and best good, how to be self-actualized if you want to use Maslow's hierarchy. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes that'll lead to great financial success because as you achieve the great intersection of your interests and abilities, you stand out and you shine. So my five steps to really being successful and financially successful and potentially making a lot of money at it, as you say, make your first million. I think the first is actually to find out what you were made to do. The subtitle of my book is to find your personal treasure map to purpose. I found mine, and I, in the book, highlight many others who have done so. And so I think the first step to being financially free and having financial success is to follow your own personal map to purpose. What is your purpose in life? That's what this book identifies, and hopefully Harry will talk about it more a little bit later. But finding your X factor is step number one. Step number two then is to blossom in that area. Look for opportunities to use your X factor. People are not going to be financially successful if they're not happy with their work or if they're not skilled at their work. So you blossom in that area and look for opportunities to use your X factor. Third is be authentic. Be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. In this age of AI, authenticity is more important than ever for success. Number four would be always be working to improve yourself. That's a lesson my father taught me. And even when you think you're at the top, you're not. There's always another level. There's always ways to improve. And if nothing else, you're a target when you're at the top. And so you need to be studying how to improve yourself and adjust your movement. Because as the second law of thermodynamics teaches us, Harry, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so learning more about how to adjust your initial thrust and to minimize the blowback to keep you at the top is a big key part of financial success and happiness. And finally, the final step I would say is to follow through. Follow through on your commitments, follow through with building relationships and keeping them going. Follow through when you have an inkling in your mind or heart, oh, I should reach out to that person. Follow through. Don't let that fall through. I think all of us need to take time. And I think truly successful people that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed many, many, many millionaires, billionaires, people that are super successful in all their areas of life for this book and for my next book coming up. And they all take time to spend in their own mind and soul and quiet their minds, quiet the outside interference, meditate, and listen to what their subconscious mind is teaching them, where it's leading them, and then follow up on that, follow through. Write down immediately the ideas you get in the shower or when you're taking a walk and you're kind of in neutral and your mind is speaking to you. It's those inner secret thoughts that come to you from your subconscious that often can inspire great success and lasting success. So those would be my five steps, Harry.
So tell us your story. Why you decide to become a writer and entrepreneur?
So I guess it all starts with what our inner motivation is. And my inner motivation has always been to help people. I'm a people person. I'm not an engineer type. I'm not the kind that kind of, as a child, taking apart a clock to figure out how it worked. No, I wanted to be with my friends. The worst punishment my mom gave me in making me learn how to play piano was that it took me from being with my friends, right? But I'm so glad she did and put in me that discipline to learn to play piano, because later on in life, when I started a band, we got very popular, we made a record, we toured, I was then able to use that skill set I had learned to engage with and to help people and to make them happy with music, which I still do today some. So my story starts. I have a great family. I was raised with great love and affection. It wasn't the kid that parents don't love him and that causes him, to have this extra drive. That was my dad's story. He's from Brooklyn. His autobiography is called A Fighter and a Champion because that's the way he viewed himself. I'm quite the opposite. Harry, I grew up with a great family, with great friends, in a great home that was centered on the right things. And I grew up in balance, not with a pendulum swinging each way, not searching for my father's approval, not trying to gain everyone else's love and approval. I was given very much approval, very much, even though affirmation, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And I was blessed with a decent mind. I graduated college, with honors, and I studied what I loved, history. And that's basically been the story of my life, Harry. I've leaned into what I love, but I've also made sure that I had the skill sets to match it. And so I basically spent a career in government and public transportation for 30 years. And I worked my way up in both industries to the very top of both. I became the CEO of one of America's top transit systems, the MTA, which is the Maryland Transit Administration in Baltimore. I had 5,000 employees, $1 billion budget, and we had all the modes of transportation, the trains, the buses, the light rail, all of that. And we won top awards. In 2016, I was honored as America's #1 transportation official by the 50 state departments of transportation. It's called AASHTO. I won the President's Award that year. And but while I was doing it, Harry, I also leaned into a part of communication that I love, which is media. So early on, I got a job in radio, and I was a talk show host in radio as a teenager. And worked for 16 years at a radio station with Comfort's Corner and being a DJ. In college, I worked in radio, was a news director. When I got out into the real working world, I always leaned into that, worked for newspapers part-time as a columnist and reporter. When I got into government, I opened up America's only FM radio station run by a transit agency. And we played smooth jazz all day long in Baltimore, the home of UB Blake and so many other jazz players, but also transit and traffic updates 5 times an hour. And then I ran for local office in my home county, won as a top vote getter as a county commissioner in my home county. And so I was able to kind of reach the top of government, local government, and of transportation. And then when I retired, I wanted to continue my involvement in media and connecting with people. And so I found the world's largest transportation technology company, now called Modaxo, and I was hired as their senior vice president and chief customer officer. And my job is to engage with the CEOs of public transit systems around the world and showcase the thought leadership that they bring to their agencies, from New York City to Melbourne, Australia, to London, and every city in between. I've had them on my podcast, Transit Unplugged. It's heard in 100 countries. It's #1 in the world. And then we started after the pandemic, Stanley Tucci kind of travel show. We're going to give you food, fun, and culture, but also the public transportation in that city. And show you from Singapore, which you have up on your screen right now, where I've been and showcased their transit agency. We're going to be going to Sydney, Australia later this year, Chicago, all those places. And so it's food, fun, culture, and transit. And it now is ranking as one of the top transportation shows on YouTube, with our last episode reaching 1.6 million views around the world. Transit Unplugged TV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so all of that combines, those really are my X factors, right? Is leaning into communicating with people and my interest in public transportation. And that's what I'm able to do now for nearly 10 years now after I retired, working in this kind of apex of this industry. And so I decided, Harry, to put all those thoughts from all that career into one book, Find Your X Factor. I back and analyzed this silk ribbon through my life of what my interests were, and then how I built up my abilities, so that at one point, I felt like I could run public transit with one eye closed, as they say, And so I found the intersection of that. And Harry, I found so many other people that have done that too. And I asked them to include their stories in the book. And so the book includes stories from other very, very people who have reached the top of radio, won the Marconi Award, the top of sports, being America's #1 hydroplane boat racer and boat builder. top lawyers and top CEOs of businesses. The guy who helped turn around General Motors, and he talks about how he did it through his X Factor. And so again, it's how you're successful financially, but it's also how you make a real difference in this world. And isn't that what we want? All of us want significance, Harry. We want our lives to make a difference. If we can get paid for it and make a million, all the better.
And then, yeah, Steve Jobs always say that you always saying that you always can connect the dots backwards, and sometimes entrepreneurs they ask me, "Oh, I want to do this business," and you ask them, "What are you passionate about?" Okay, and they say, "Okay, I like to play music. I like to travel." And then I want to do a business in real estate. Right? And you start to think, okay, one thing have nothing to do with the other one, but eventually, if be creative enough, we can make this, something magic happen. I have a music band as a hobby.
Okay.
We play salsa. We play salsa in London, and and the, and
How
the
do you play, Harry?
and the
What
yeah.
instrument do you
Well,
play?
that's an interesting question. I play the guitar, but
Okay.
because because the band is mine, the musician don't show up. I have to cover.
That's great.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
you know what?
But it's band for fun.
Yeah,
However, the confidence that I do, we play the music. We play music. So that knowledge that we have from that, that's something different hobby. Actually, we usually use it in a professional environment, and when we do these big conferences, we don't need the really high pay sound engineer and everything, because when you have a music band with all the channels and everything for music, you become an expert in sound. So imagine the conference is just few microphones and everything. It's not a big deal.
right.
So a lot of skills that I learn in that hobby, it's actually we put in that knowledge into what we do professionally. And again,
Yes.
also I like to travel, right? So I like to travel. Well, guess what? My conferences are all over the world. As you can see, Singapore, Dubai. So now we have music in the conference. They happen all over the world. And exactly like you say, you can create your X factor to take everything you like and combine it. Because, and this is important that they cross over, Paul, because otherwise people start to dilute the brand. So what
Yes.
happened is that people like music. Okay, they start to do music separate. They like the work. Okay, they have to do the business separate. Okay, they like this. And they having like 4 or 5 different lives. Uh, and then the whole brand, the whole entity who you are gets diluted. So the secret is exactly what you are describing in this book, how you can concentrate, right? It doesn't matter what you like. If you like painting, if you like doing it, like look at you. What have to do transportation with playing piano?
Right.
Nothing to do. And we broadcast it. However, you manage to put it all together in a show,
That's right.
right? It's
I call that
amazing.
yeah, I call that an integrated life, Harry, and I think it's what leads to the most satisfaction, right? I also think it's important that even if you can't make a living doing what you really love, that you do it as a hobby, and see if you can integrate parts of it into what you do for a living. For you and me, I think music feeds our soul. I know I still play off and on in church. I play piano now in church, and I feel when I'm done, even if it's just a few songs, I feel my soul was fed, right? Because that artistic side of us needs to be fed, right? We've got a right and a left brain, and we focus too much on one and not the other, and our lives aren't integrated. We're half a person. And so we're supposed to be a full person. That's what fully self actualized means on Maslow's hierarchy. It means rising above the basics and to the top where you feel fully self actualized. You've brought out all of your abilities, all of your skills, all of your talents, and left them out on the field. And that's when you go home feeling satisfied. You feel like I did it all. It's like mowing the grass in your yard and you turn around and look at it and you get this sense of satisfaction. Yes, that's just how I wanted it to look. I left it all out there. It's a little bit of effort, but the results are beautiful.
I resonate, Paul, a lot with your story because same me, I was brought up in a very balanced house, right? So I cannot say that I have a sadness that
Right.
the parents didn't look after me or there was no money, but it was not true. So the house was well balanced. I received a lot of love from my mom and from my dad. Even though they were divorced, it was an amazing. Okay, I went to university because my parents want me to go to university and to be a good employee. They're teachers. They're teachers, right? And then the problem started when I finished university and I had to find my own way and I decided to become an entrepreneur. Well, they didn't like that. They saw that this was very risky thing to do. But anyway, that's another story. But the whole point is that I'm also a people person. I like people. I always want to be around with people. That's maybe this is what I do. Here in the podcast, I'm with people. If I do the
Yes.
conference, I'm with people. I need to see people. The podcast started right as the COVID because a lot of people went online. So if people are online, well, we need to see what are the people, okay? And I think you start to bring what you like because, if you want to make people happy, you want to, and, you realize eventually that music makes people happy. When we play with our band, the people have so much fun, they dance along, there's so much smile, so much fun. And it's a very good energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That you get when you play music for people, and it's a spectacular feeling. And we were doing it as a hobby, okay, but it was reaching a point that it's not gonna be a hobby anymore because a lot of people were coming and there was no space in the venue anymore. So the owner told me, look, next time you have to charge because we cannot have this for free anymore because people don't fit in the space, right?
That's
So,
awesome.
so bottom line, you can combine what you do if you as an join up the dots, how you want to put the things that you really like and make it work. It
Yeah.
sounds impossible, but it's actually not. Is you find the tune. So, Paul, because you wrote a book about it, tell us what is gonna take for individual, it doesn't matter, entrepreneur, employee, to find that. I talk this also. I like the way that you describe it. Okay, as the next factor that you have to get on your skills and combine them until they cross each other. Right, it's very good
Right.
because I have challenged when I spoke with entrepreneurs and everything. I was telling them always, you are diluting yourself. You don't want to resign to music. You need to resign to traveling. You need to resign to any of this, but you have to bring them together into one entity that can collapse. So like this, the brand is concentrated because otherwise it's like you build in five different brands. You build in the brand as a musician. You build in the brand as a transport expert. You build in the brand as a broadcaster. You build in, and you're in business. Building one brand is so, I would say, hard, and it takes a lot of time. If we consolidate it, we result that if we are spread out, you
Yeah.
need to work maybe five times more. So, what
And
message
let
do you
me,
have for entrepreneurs?
yes. So, Harry, let me talk right to the folks who are watching this today. Could be that you are in the middle of your career and what some people call, you're having a crisis of confidence. You're like, hey, I'm 20 years into this, and how in the world did I get into this? A midlife crisis. How this is not what I wanted to do. Well, I don't believe the answer is to blow up your whole life at this point. I think that is a call from your inner self telling you it's time to pause and reflect, right? You want to do what they say, right? I just had some guys at my house doing some work, and they, once again, you measure twice and you cut once. So you want to make sure that what you're going to do will get you where you want to go. You don't want to climb the ladder of success, Harry, your whole life, only to find out at the end it was leaning against the wrong wall. So here's what I would encourage you to do. If I'm speaking to you right now and this resonates with you, I would tell you to pause, go to my website. It's free. Findyourxfactor.ai. And I've got a free assessment on there. Findyourxfactor.ai. That's where we're all going now, AI, right? Go there and just take the assessment. Figure out, the book's not out yet. The book comes out August 11th. You can pre-order it now on the website, and it'll be shipped to you from Barnes & Noble. But take the assessment, sit down for an hour this weekend, and concentrate on yourself and find out, analyze what is my interest, what are my abilities, circle where they intersect and begin then to calculate a plan to lean into this in your current place of work, in your current home, and with your current family. You don't want to do the classic midlife crisis and get divorced and quit your job and buy the red Corvette, and then a year from now be worse off than you are today, saying, oh no, I made a terrible mistake. This is a call for you to take some on yourself, figure out who you are, figure out what your strengths are, and then figure out how to focus on that in your career. I can tell you from experience and from the experience of so many of the people that I talk to about this, is that once you figure out what you are good at and what you want to do, what your abilities are and what your interests are, and you start looking for those opportunities, suddenly they begin to appear. It's just amazing. It's like the universe conspires to bring you what you are searching for, but you have to know what you're searching for. You have to begin looking for it. Harry, I remember when I first got married, and we had our first child over 30 years ago, taking our child to the mall in a stroller, and suddenly I saw strollers everywhere in the mall. I had never seen strollers before. I said, what are all these people doing in the mall with children? It's just that I'd never focused on them. When I got a certain kind of car, I suddenly noticed, look at all these Jeeps out here. I got a Jeep, and now I see Jeeps everywhere. It's a principle. What comes into view more clearly once you know what it is you're focusing on. I think it's a super key to success, financially, operationally, for satisfaction. You need to have a direction that you're going in. Some people might remember that book, Alice in Wonderland. And Alice comes to a fork in the road, and the Cheshire Cat is there on a branch over the road. And Alice asks the cat, I'm at a fork in the road. I don't know which way to go. Which way should I go? Which road should I take? And the cat says, well, where are you headed? And she said, I don't really know. What was the answer? Then any road will do. And that's the problem people have in their life. They go a little bit down this road. They don't finish that. It's the power of focus, of integrating your life, that brings you that dunamos power that the Greeks talked about, that dynamite power that is explosive and that brings you great success. It's not a promise of millions, but it's a promise that you will have greater power as your life is integrated, and that power will raise you up in your field, and you'll begin to be recognized, and you'll begin to get more opportunities. Harry, in one job I had, I couldn't find anything about it that I really liked, and I write that in the book. I've got a chapter called When You Hate Your Job. And I went through 5 years in a job that I hated, and I didn't want to leave it because the money was so good, and anything else I could find was going to be a big cut. But I hated what I was doing, and it didn't use my skill sets. And I was treated poorly, I felt like, but I learned a lot from that. And you know what I ended up doing? I said, well, I like engaging with people and interacting with people. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to volunteer to do the new employee orientation. And so Mondays became my favorite day of the week because on that day, I got to spend a few hours with all the new employees and give them kind of an overview of the agency. I was in management, but it was mostly administrative and things that I didn't really enjoy. And so I was able then to be with people and engage with them. And so that may be what you figure out. Once you figure out what it is you want to do and what you're good at, you may volunteer for something. It won't bring you a lot of money right at that moment necessarily, but it will lead you down an interesting path till eventually something pops and you're back in where you want to be.
So tell me more about books, about your show.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch you there. Try one more time.
Tell us a little bit more about your podcast, about your show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Happy to do so. So, the show, the Transit Unplugged, and it's on all the major podcast platforms. We have a website, transitunplugged.com. And the podcast is, I interview public transit CEOs of agencies around the world, and we talk about their cities. So, for instance, the podcast that dropped today, it drops on Wednesdays. It's on YouTube and all the platforms. It's with a guy named Steve Fuentes. Steve is the new CEO of the Milwaukee Transit System in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He spent 30 years in Chicago as the head of their bus operations, one of their big leaders, and then he became, just recently, 8 months ago, the CEO of Milwaukee. So we talk about the problems he came into when he was there and how he addressed them. We talk about sports teams there and how they serve them. We talk about the food, the interesting culture of those cities, but how public transportation is a theme of the city. And then, Harry, after the pandemic, I watched a lot of Anthony Bourdain during the pandemic, and I thought, I would like to take this podcast and turn it into a television show and do the same thing he's done, focus on food, fun, culture, but then show how public transportation ties it all together and give you a behind the scenes look at the transit agency, since that's my world. So that's what we do. Our current episode is from San Antonio, Texas, and we showcase the Alamo, where the great fight took place. We showcase the Riverwalk. We showcase the oldest continuing cathedral in America that has a light show on it and a sound show every night. And it showcases the history. And we show all kinds of fun food. It's a city of gastronomy. We go to the Culinary Institute of America. We meet with the chefs. They show us how they cook the food there. And then we show how public transportation is a theme through it all. We go to a place where it's called Morgan's Wonderland. It's America's only theme park for people with disabilities. And I get on there and ride some of the rides and show how they work. And we do all that fun and food and culture, and then show the public transportation behind it. It's become a big hit. Our last episode from St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Florida, views. And so it's a great show. You can find it on YouTube, Transit Unplugged TV.
If somebody want to buy your book and find more about you and follow this conversation, how people find you, how the process work?
Yes. So the book's for sale at all major platforms, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, Amazon, all of them. I encourage you to go to Barnes & Noble and buy the book there. And you can also go to our website, findyourxfactor.ai. Right at the top is a free assessment. Right underneath of it, you can click the link. It'll take you to buy the book. And it'll be delivered to your house shortly after August 11th. There's also blog posts on there and other information about how to find your X Factor. And I've been on a lot of podcasts like yours lately, Harry. Some of them are listed there. We'll put yours there as well so people can find and listen to some of the great principles in the book.
Thank you so much for that. And for all of you in the broadcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable. Break, like whole break of work, which is the first million. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.